Alright, welcome. In this video, I'm going to be working Algebra 2 Quiz 4.1, which is just really all of our parabola basics. So first, we're going to find the axis of symmetry. And so the formula we need to know for axis of symmetry is x equals negative b divided by 2a. Okay, where a is going to be 1/4, b is going to be positive 9, and c is negative 5. We're not going to use c. Okay, so it's going to be x equals negative 9 divided by 2 times 1/4. And if you left it like this and in like free response, that would probably be all right, but we need to recognize what we're doing here. If this was a multiple choice question, so it's negative 9 divided by 2 times 1/4 is a half. And dividing by a half is like multiplying by 2, so that's negative 18. Okay, so it's x equals negative 18 is the axis of symmetry. Okay. Now we're going to find the coordinates of the vertex. Okay, so we're going to start with x equals negative b over 2a because that's the x coordinate of the vertex, but then we'll plug that x value in to find y. So x equals negative b over 2a, okay, where a is negative 2, b is negative 4, and c is positive 3. All right, so that's going to be negative of negative 4 divided by 2a is going to be 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. So that's x equals negative 1. And then y is going to be whatever I get when I plug in negative 1 for x here. So that's negative 2 times, if I square negative 1, I'll get positive 1. Okay, minus 4 times x, will be minus 4 times negative 1, then plus 3. Okay, so I've got negative 2 plus 4 plus 3, that's going to be 5. And then the coordinates of the vertex are negative 1 and 5. Okay. Now we've got one that's already factored for us, but they want us to unfactor, so we're going to distribute. Okay, we can do that. So I think what most of us are doing in my classes are using the box technique, which, if you don't need to do it for, multiplying two binomials, then that's fine. But I would definitely recommend you do it when we start multiplying larger things by each other. Really just helps you not lose track of any of the multiplications you're supposed to do. So this would be 4x and minus 5. And then we're going to say, all right, 2x times 4x, that would be 8 times x squared. 4x times 3 would be 12x. 2x times negative 5 is negative 10x, and negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. So I add all this stuff together. Okay, so something like y equals, or f of x equals 8x squared minus 10x plus 12x would be a total of positive 2x, and then minus 15. And then the y-intercept of f, well, the y-intercept of f, that's where x equals 0. Okay, so that y of 0 would be 0 plus 0 minus 15. Okay, so the y-intercept is going to be 0 and negative 15. But we could also see that by plugging in 0 for x right here, right? We'd have 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Okay. All right, on it back. Now we're going to find the x-intercepts of the parabola defined by this equation. So that means we're going to need to do some factoring. Okay, well, I'll have to do. All right, so I see all of these are even numbers, so I can factor out the 2. So I'm going to start with that to make the factoring as easy as possible. Okay, and now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply 50 while adding to 15, and that's going to be 10 and 5. Okay, so I've got y equals 2 times x plus 10 times x plus 5. Okay, and if I want the x-intercepts, that's where y is equal to 0. Okay. So now I have 0 equaling 2 times x plus 10 times x plus 5. And if these three things are multiplying together to equal 0, then that's because one of them equals 0. Okay, so either 2 equals 0, which isn't going to happen, or x plus 10 is equal to 0. And that could be true if x was negative 10. Or x plus 5 could be equal to 0. And that would give you x equals negative 5. Okay, so the x-intercepts are x equals 10 and x equals negative 5. Right, now we've got a quadratic function that's already factored for us. And okay, now if we want to find the x-intercepts, most of the work is done. Okay, the x-intercepts is where y is equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to say, g of x, that represents y, so 0 is equal to negative 1/3. of x minus 6 times x plus 1. Okay, so if these things are multiplying to equal 0, one of them is equal to 0. So either negative 1/3 is equal to 0, which is never equal to 0, or x minus 6 is equal to 0. That happens to be when x is 6. Or maybe x plus 1 is equal to 0, which is when x is negative 1. Okay. And then my x-intercepts, they're right here. All right, and then we're going to sketch the graph of g. All right, that will be easy enough because we found the zeros. Okay, we know that it opens down, and it's kind of wide because of that 1/3. So we're just going to draw a wider parabola. Okay. We didn't compute the coordinates of the vertex, so I'm not going to go out of my way to compute them right now just for a quick sketch. But we did compute the coordinates of the x-intercept, so I might as well put those on there. X equals negative 1 and x equals positive 6. So the one on the left would be negative 1 because negative 1 is less than 6. Okay, that was form I. Let's move on. Let's work form J. Okay, we'll start with the axis of symmetry for this parabola. Okay, and we're going to use the formula x equals negative b over 2a. And where this is a and that's b and this is c. Okay, so this is going to be negative 3 over 2 times 1/8. Okay, and like I said earlier, if this was like just for your response or just a quiz, you could stop there. That's a number that's equivalent to what we're going for. But in multiple choice, you'd need to do a little bit more simplification. So this would be like negative 3 over 2/8 is 1/4, and dividing by 1/4 is like multiplying by 4. Okay, so that's going to be negative 12. So my axis of symmetry is x equals negative 12. All right, now we are going to find the coordinates of the vertex of this one, and so we're going to start with x equals negative b over 2a, where this is a, that's b, and this is c. Okay, so negative b is going to be positive 6, divided by 2a will be 2 times negative 3, that'll be x equals negative 1. And then y will be whatever I get when I plug in x equals negative 1 over here. So it'll be negative 3 times x squared. Now if I square negative 1, I'll get positive 1. Minus 6x. Okay. So this is going to be negative 3 plus 6 plus 4. And I think that that's going to be 10 minus 3 is 7. Okay, so the coordinates of my vertex are negative 1 and 7. All right. Now we've got this quadratic here, and we want to write it in standard form, so we're going to distribute the 3x minus 2 over the 5x and the 4. All right, so 5x times 3x is 15x squared. Negative 2 times 5x is negative 10x. 3x times 4 is positive 12x. And 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Okay, so I just add all these together, and I'll have f of x equals 15x squared plus 2x minus 8. And then the y-intercept of f, that's going to be where x is equal to 0. And so I could say, all right, f of 0, I plug in 0 for x, is 15 times 0 plus 2 times 0 minus 8. Okay, and then you can also see that by plugging in 0 for x here, that you get negative 2 times positive 4 is negative 8. Okay. Now we're going to find the x-intercepts, and at this point, we find x-intercepts by factoring. So we're going to see, all even numbers, I'm going to factor out a 2 plus 11x plus 30. 30 and 1, no. 15 and 2, 6 and 5, there it is, okay. So x plus 6 times x plus 5. I'm looking for two numbers that multiplied to 30 while adding to 11. X plus 6 times x plus 5. And then an x-intercept is a place where y equals 0. So I say, okay, 0 is 2 times x plus 6 times x plus 5. Okay, this 2 isn't going to contribute to my zeros because 2 can never equal 0. And if the product of these three things is 0, then it has to be because one of them is 0. So maybe x plus 6 could be 0. And that would make sense. That would be when x was negative 6. And x plus 5, that could also possibly equal 0 if x was negative 5. Okay, and so these are my x-intercepts. And so, I might just like a little box. All right, and then here we've got the last one. This one's it's already factored for us, so it won't be too hard to find the x-intercepts. Okay, x-intercepts, that's where y equals 0, or where g of x equals 0. Okay, and so I'll say 0 equals negative 2 times x plus 3 times x minus 4. Okay, that means one of these things has to be 0. Negative 2 is never 0, so maybe x plus 3 could equal 0, and that would be where x was negative 3. Or maybe x minus 4 could be 0, and that would be where x was positive. And those are my x-intercepts. Okay, and then the last thing is just sketch the graph of g. Okay, well, I've got some x-intercepts. I know it's going to open down because of the negative, and it's going to be kind of narrow because of the 2. So I'm going to draw a little vertex here, draw kind of a narrow parabola, and then I saw that I've got 2 x-intercepts, so I might put them right here and there. This would be x equals negative 3, and that would be x equals 4. Okay, and that's going to be all for this one. That was the whole quiz. Thanks for watching. Hope it helped.